You had a very interesting, I think it was a map, if I can remember the graphic correctly, that was sort of which parts of the world are best suited to have an economic advantage in one particular form of energy generation. It's like, yeah, Iceland is going to crush at geothermal, and everywhere in sort of the equatorial region is going to thrive in solar. There's all these kind of different pockets. Seeing it that way just felt like, oh my God, all of this energy renewables dialogue is just like the fable of blind men feeling different parts of an elephant, strongly stating that like there is no other way other than geothermal because of where they happen to be, that any sort of robust worldwide grid is going to have like a wide variety of things feeding in with all different kinds. And we need all of it because the characteristics are very different. It's not just nuclear, if I understand correctly, super, super reliable, but can't get like dialed up and down in the way that coal or natural gas can. And so when you need to reach peak load during a heat wave or something like that, then all of a sudden we need these really flexible sources. If you need base load when the sun's not shining because we've depleted all of our storage, all of a sudden you need a ton of other things. And so just the slow progress of replacing the bulk of the coal and natural gas probably with nuclear baseload feels extremely sensible to me and doesn't preclude nuclear at all, or doesn't preclude any other form of renewables. I mean, but so hard to know who to trust and who's talking what book as you work through the dialogue.
Yeah, no, I think it's all great points. And it's definitely true. Like a lot of these energy sources are somewhat location dependent. So solar is great for where there's often sun and infrequently clouds. And wind is great where it's windy, obviously. Hydro is good where there's lots of volumes of water moving. Geothermal is great where there's magma pockets close to the surface of the earth. And nuclear is kind of cool because current reactors do kind of need to be close to water, but other advanced reactors don't have to be, so they could be anywhere. And also, I think it's worth mentioning, nuclear can also load follow quite well with the right design, but it just typically hasn't been used to do that because economically, this is what's interesting, like one of the key differences between nuclear and oil and gas. So nuclear plants have a much higher upfront cost, and then it has typically lower ongoing operational expenses, whereas oil and gas plants are a little bit easier to build, so lower CapEx, but then higher OpEx when you factor in the cost of that fuel on an ongoing basis. This is kind of why fundamentally people think oil and gas would pair better with renewables because you're building this asset that's much cheaper to build up front. And sure, it's more expensive to run on an operational basis thereafter, but that doesn't matter because you're not using it that often. And, obviously this ignores the fact that it's dirty and we shouldn't be doing it. But yeah, it's fascinating, this kind of patchwork quilt of how things shake out and where they're best suited.